Greetings and salutations, Fantasy League of Ordinary Gentlemen. I just have one question for you here in Week 6. Can you feel it, baby? It's Bourbon Bowl. It's time for the Red River Shootout. Texas is going down. Co-Commissioner's going down. We've got some huge games this week. I can personally guarantee you that by the end of Week 6, we will have only one winless team in this league. I cannot guarantee you that we will have two undefeated teams left, and there's a whole bunch going on in the middle, so you know what to do. Take a moment, like and subscribe, get us out there. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hope you're enjoying the sultry sounds of the Commissioner, Joe Johnson, as he brings you all of the action happening here in Fantasy Jensen. I am totally excited for just the craziness is going on. I will say a very interesting Week 6 as all the teams that are on bye are teams that are dealing with horrendous injuries. So for the vast majority, any of the players that are out or that are on bye are actually just out because they've been injured. There are a couple, and I do mean a couple, as in few. I can count them on one hand of the players that would be playing that you want to start, that you are not going to be able to do so, and we will talk about all of that. But keep in mind that for the vast majority of these matchups, these teams are pretty much, healthy. Here's who I have. Here's who I'm going to start. And you're cock-locked and ready to rock. So we are definitely entering the time where your averages start to really cement, and the way your players are going to play, the way your overall team is going to play, minus, of course, injuries, trades, what have you, is going to pan out. So without any further ado, take the world around you and push it aside. Find something to eat. Find something to drink. Tell the wife and kiddos goodbye. Turn the volume up on your listening device. And for the next 45 minutes, we're going to talk Fantasy Gents football. Let's open it up with Game 1. And we're all over the place in Week 6. There's no just starting off with Forrest here. That ain't happening. We're done with that. Okay, I don't even think Forrest is the worst team anymore, and that's the cruel joke of the fantasy gods, is that Forrest drafts the way he does, and through sheer brute injuries now has starting players and is putting over 100 points on people. I mean, he literally, I think, should have at least won last week. He just kind of got robbed, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Game 1. Last year's Forever Unclean, he who shall not be named, Mr. Stinky Evan Coles, taking on Derek Ash, who comes off of a loss, was one of the few undefeated teams until last week, licking some wounds and going to try and get a win here. Now, of course, Game 1 starts off with the two of the bye players that you would play, Patty Mahomes, and I actually don't think you'd be playing Patty Mahomes. I think you'd be playing Baker Mayfield, so really, it doesn't matter. And then Justin Jefferson, who you absolutely would be starting. It's a big hit this week against a tough opponent. And then Derek not dealing with anything of significance other than the significance of having to deal with Anthony Richardson. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, I don't want to start Anthony Richardson. I don't think he should be starting at all. Joe Flacco, again, is getting shafted. This is insane. This is the retarded politics that is the NFL. And I'm just, I'm not, I mean, there's nothing wrong, and I see no negative to starting Anthony Richardson. This is going to say I said that wrong, but putting Anthony Richardson behind Joe Flacco for the rest of the year so that this dude can learn and let Joe Flacco, who is a veteran, and if he actually got hurt to the point he couldn't play, it's not nearly as detrimental long-term as Anthony Richardson, who clearly does not understand that, you're getting, hit by a semi-truck out here in the NFL. But hey, whatever, throw him out there, and let's just face it. I mean, I think it's obvious he's not a better quarterback. I mean, am I the only one who needs to say this? Anyway, kind of jumping the gun. It's a 18.8, but it might as well be 20-point projection line difference here, of course, in favor of Derek. Let's talk about it. Baker Mayfield, who I actually love in this game. I think this projection is going to be surpassed. I love it. Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris, running backs 1 and 2, and the defense is not bad. You saw what Javonte Williams was able to do, and he's been very stagnant along, with that Broncos offense, which seems to be kind of emerging maybe. But I'm not afraid of this. Brandon Ayuk plays tonight in Thursday Night Football, and then Jameson Williams, which I do like against Dallas here, and Njoku, which, I mean, Evan, you're still doing the 3 tight end thing. Will you please trade away? Or, I mean, no one's going to take Njoku. I don't know what you're doing, but you've got to do something, and you're 2 and 3. I mean, if you don't want to drop him, I mean, surely somebody would take. I mean, I think Isaiah Likely would be possible here. He certainly looks better than Mark Andrews. Cole Kmet has been very serviceable. There are people who still need tight ends. And then, I mean, somebody will buy into Njoku. I know it's not me, and I don't know if it's Cleveland themselves, but hey, again, I just drop him. Fuck Cleveland. Zach Charbonnet gets very tough San Francisco. You're just hoping he falls in the end zone. New York Jets, the defense in Tucker. It's 104. So, hey, man, nice to know that even without Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson, you're in this week, still projected over 104 points. You're going to need the boom plays, my friend, as Mr. Consistency coming in with Anthony Richardson, who's anything but consistent. And then you get Tennessee. That's the only boon here, is it's Tennessee. Start Joe Flacco. God, Lord, I don't know what these people are doing. Derrick Henry and Brian Robinson, running backs 1 and 2. Derrick Henry killed it the last 3 weeks against Washington, who as a whole is, hey, yeah, they are playing very, very good, but again, Washington's defense, not somebody that I'm just terrified of. Amon St. Brown and Malik Neighbors, and it does look like Malik Neighbors is trending in the right direction and is only questionable now. You want him in this game. Cincinnati's secondary has been had throughout the year. Turd Ferguson, it's a funny hat, gets Detroit, and I love this Dallas-Detroit game. I think it's going to be a nice shootout. Odunze gets Jacksonville. Okay, interesting. And then Indianapolis, the defense here, and Myers, the kicker. It is 122 to 104. It is vastly in your favor, and unfortunately, Evan, brother, yeah, you've been struggling. Last week was huge. I mean, especially going to this week. Let me say, going 2 and 3 into a very tough matchup where you're losing Patty Mahomes and Justin Jefferson, I just think that's too much against a very tough opponent. Maybe Anthony Richardson gets hurt and scores 5 points, but nevertheless, I'm still going to go with the fully ready to go Derek Ash here in week number 6. Undefeated Brennan Scala takes on Jack Little Raven in our next game. This game much closer than our opening game one. This particular match, 10 points separating in the projection in favor of our 5-0 Brennan Scala. I will say it is some juicy matchups, man. I imagine this is going to be a very high-scoring week, and it's not horrible for you, Jack, but there is in certain areas some tough defenses. So let's break it down. Brennan, you're on I'm calling it the 0 to hero run. Last year, you couldn't, get anything right. I mean, I'm not trying to rehash anything. You know what happened. We all know what happened. But, to see that waiver picks not happening, trades non-existent. Now you haven't made any trades yet, so but hey, don't fix what ain't broke, right? Okay, but what I'm saying, just nothing going. Almost forever unclean. You were a 0 rookie. It was the classic come into fantasy gents and just get wrecked. But that 0 has turned into a hero, and here you are dominating. Jack's a tough opponent. He scored well, and just unfortunately, like the production, not the outcome. Lord, But let's go. Let's break down Lamar Jackson, Washington. I just talked about it. Yeah, I mean, killing it. He's going to have another great day. And this might be a game that if you have Washington, it may not be such a good day for you and your fantasy players. I'm really curious to how this Washington offense is gonna play against this Baltimore defense. I will say, monitor your running backs, James Cook and Zach Moss, dealing with injuries. Zach Moss getting that ankle injury, and you certainly do want him to play, considering you're playing the Giants there, and tapering expectations for Cook in this one because of the Jets' very good defense. CeeDee Lamb, who really struggled last week, gets a great matchup with Detroit. I imagine this is going to be a very high-scoring game. And then Drake London, who's went off 33 points last week, gets Carolina. And we're going to get it done against Carolina. I'm starting all of my Falcons. We're starting Drake London, we're starting Darnell Mooney, we're starting Bijan, we're starting Tyler Algier, I think maybe even in this one. So, yes, great setup here for your wide receivers. Noah Fant, okay, we'll see what happens tonight in Thursday Night Football. As long as you score more than Mark Andrews, am I right? George Pickens against Las Vegas, nice little flex play here. San Francisco, the defense, and Brandon Aubrey, the kicker, 123 on that projection. But he's right behind you. And don't mistake Jack. Jack is unorthodox. I think Jack, all our owners give you so different. I know I kind of hype on Jordan, but don't let the comments of one owner that I seem to be just focused on because of what the jackass did to me last year. That's what it is. It's because of what happened last year, and I've just got to remedy the problem. We'll get there. Getting ahead of myself, and I'm digressing. Jack Little Raven is the focus of this conversation, and Jack gives you something that is a little unorthodox. He's definitely an outside of the box. He's not afraid. Jack Little Raven, much like Derek Ash, these two dudes play outside of the box. They're not afraid to start the two tight ends. They're not afraid to invest where they think there's value, and they're damn sure not afraid to show Commissioner Joe Johnson that they're just as good as anybody else. And the projections right here, I will say, these teams not dealing with any significant injuries or buys. Obviously we talked about those. Travis Etienne, this is a problem. This is where you have a huge hole in the team, and you're playing Chicago's defense, who's been stepping it up a little bit here. They have a much better secondary than their front seven. Nevertheless, Travis Etienne just hasn't been getting it done, and he's injured. So this actually he may not even play in this game. I'm not thinking that's the case based off what I'm reading. Still a possibility, something you're monitoring. I just said you're starting your Atlanta Falcons this weekend. Yes, you are. Yeah, love Kirk Cousins' start here. I don't like the Justice Hill, and I know you're starting whoever you can. I just don't think, I just don't like it here. Even the matchup against Washington, just something. You saw what happened last week. I don't think it's a viable option. I think you might be looking into a trade, maybe trying to find some RB2 value out there, sir. Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, wide receivers 1 and 2, and you need them to do what they did last week. You got robbed. A little bit, not to take anything away from the win of your opponent, nothing that, but like we said, we like the productivity, we just didn't like the outcome. 41 points from Jamar Chase this week, it's win. You'll shut Brennan up, and let's just face it here, Brennan may be a 0 to hero candidate here in 2024. He's an undefeated team, and that means everybody, including the commissioners, rooting for him to lose. So come on, let's get that 41 points from Jamar Chase. Let's have DK Metcalf. It's a tough matchup. Tough matchup against San Francisco. Evan Ingram, who looks like he's actually going to play. I'm tapering my expectations. The secondary in Chicago is absolutely fantastic. DJ Moore, and I don't want to say it. I said last week I need to see it one more time. If DJ Moore, now it's Jacksonville, and Jacksonville has been god-awful, but it's one of those like, okay, so you should get it done against Jacksonville, right? So DJ Moore, who's been killing it, it's a much better flex play than I think Pickens is. So, hey, I mean, if DJ Moore is back, if Caleb Williams finally has figured it out, whatever, even if Caleb Williams doesn't figure it out, which, again, you know where I am on him, if DJ Moore figures it out, if at least fantasy-wise, your wide receiver core goes from mid-tier to meeting up there with me and oh man, I'm pretty sure it's Austin. Maybe not Austin. They did the trade, but your wide receiver core severely upgrades. It enters the upper echelon. We can break down the tiers of cores in the league, running back, so on and so forth. Another time, it's a different conversation. Seattle, the defense, McPherson, the kicker. Oh, we got a close one. Let me tell you, I think this is going to be much closer than 10 points. And I mean, and it's our second game. It's our second game, and I think this is going to be really, really close. I think the injuries here, both running backs are, your running back core is better, and it's a comparable. I mean, if CeeDee Lamb and Drake London report, I mean, this is going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Jack, I want the upset. I want this pin to put a check mark on my paper by your name. But Christ help me, Brennan has just been on a tear. And until otherwise, I just can't pick against him. Give me Brennan Scala. Oh, my Lord. I need it to happen. I just don't think it can. This game is going to be close. I think it's even with a 10-point spread, could go either way. And I guarantee you, if Zach Moss doesn't play, and if James Cook doesn't play, I mean, hand the game over. But you're starting Justice Hill. That's if both these guys start, he's got comparable wide receivers, and they can compare. I do like Drake London more than DK Metcalf. DJ Moore's going to be pivoted, but yes, give me Brennan Scala. I've made my pick. I've said what I've said here. In Week 6, Game 3 will feature rookie Jonathan Andrews taking on longtime veteran, cousin of the commissioner, Josh Johnson. And, Josh, I had to put you in your place last week. I'm sorry. I don't make the schedule. It just happened. But now, you understand that you don't challenge the big dog. You don't come into Final Boss's realm and tell me what to do. So now I need you to show this rookie what's up, and it's going to be a tough matchup. It is a 15-point projection in Jonathan's favor. Mr. Andrews having a great start to the season, 4-1. And I will say, the stack kind of working. Kind of. I mean, at the end of the day, you're scoring over 40 points between three people. That's a good thing, right? Okay. Big game tonight. I'm going to taper my expectation here for all of my Seattle Seahawks players. San Francisco they play pretty darn good football. We're heavily invested tonight. So really important that your Seahawks do what they need to do this evening. Breece Hall has got to do better now. Even Cam Akers got into the end zone against him last week. But, even with the loss of Nico Collins, I still think that the offense there in Houston looks way better than the offense does in New York here. So a big game. Buffalo's been struggling as well. I think that Buffalo's going to be playing very, very tough, but their defense is dealing with a lot of injuries. So, I mean, surely Breece Hall gets into the end zone here. If he doesn't, I will say, if Breece Hall has another bad game, that is going to be very alarming. And it's like, I get it, man, deep league, whatever. You got to start who you got to start, but you really start wondering if you're going to be able to even get a trade out of him. I digress. Kenneth Walker, again, big game here tonight and Thursday Night Football against San Francisco. So tapering expectations. T. Higgins, JSN. It was enough to knock off all the way. Can you believe? And we just talked about Jack getting, should have won. And it's not to take anything away from you, Mr. Andrews. It's just the backup wide receivers still got it done for the fantasy owner. So can they do it again? we will see Brock Bowers against Pittsburgh. You're not getting 20 points this week. Pittsburgh, very, very good. D-Hop against Indianapolis, and Indianapolis defense in the secondary is very atrocious. It's a good flex play. Denver defense, you're still depending on the boom play, though. Denver defense and McLaughlin, the kicker, 117. Josh, no Puka, but you weren't going to be able to play him anyway, so you're here, you're ready to go. You make a trade, so no David Montgomery, but you upgrade here at tight end. Now, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, looks like they should be back anytime. Does this mean a downgrade in touches for Goddard? I mean, almost assuredly, but can he still be serviceable? I mean, again, just has to score more than Mark Andrews. And then flexing here, Eckler this week. But man, I think I'm going to find a wide receiver. We're getting a little ahead of myself. Jared Goff is your quarterback here in this one against Dallas. I think this will be another high-scoring game. J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason, running backs 1 and 2, and Jordan Mason should have a great. I'm not particularly afraid of Seattle's defense. I mean, look what happened last week here. But then J.K. Dobbins against Denver. I mean, Denver's number one defense. They are allowing the fewest points, fewest yards. I mean, very, very tough. You're just going to hope that J.K. Dobbins can somehow fall into the end zone here. Amari Cooper, are we really? Surely we can find somebody else, Josh, than Amari Cooper. Philadelphia, that's the only saving grace here. Philadelphia's secondary is still very, very vulnerable. Nothing has changed about that from last year. So, hey, here we go. I don't feel comfortable making this start. Deontay Johnson, I'm starting him in my other league as well. The matchup with Atlanta is great. Dallas Goddard, we already talked about it. Cleveland, horrible. So you love the play. You're just hoping maybe he's still going to be that number one target. Find someone else. Please do not flex Austin Eckler in this game. It is a bad decision. Buffalo, the defense, and Fairbairn, the kicker. You're going to need some help, my friend. And I just don't think it's enough, even with Breece Hall struggling. Jonathan has been just destroying people, scoring a ridiculous. How many times has he now? At least twice, I believe, over 150 points. I don't know if anyone else has scored over 150 points. I know Co-Commissioner Grogg 1 week came close. I mean, I think it was like 148, 144. I'd have to go back and double check that. But I do know that at least twice Jonathan scored over 150 points. So I am, unfortunately, I love you, blood of my blood, but you're going to lose, and it could be bad this week against the rookie Jonathan Andrews here in week 6. As we're covering game 4 here, it makes me wonder that you have all these projections that are really close and they end up being blowouts. So will all these games that are projected to be blowouts actually end up being really close? The mind wonders. It could just be the marijuana talking. I don't know. Let's break down this game 4 as Austin Allen, our defending champion, one of our 2 remaining undefeated teams, takes on Mr. Aaron Felch, who does have one of those few players that we would start if they weren't on by Mr. Kyron Williams. And nevertheless, Josh, what did I say? You're still projected over 106 points. You've got last week, lots of buys. That's over now. For the most part, the majority of your team is heading towards the playoffs with the buys behind you, which is good. But then if a couple of players will just do what you drafted them to do, you're a happening team, my friend. Austin, your ship is large and in charge, sailing the open seas, led by this Saquon Barkley and off of the bye and getting Cleveland. Destruction incoming, Aaron. Not good. CJ Stroud gets New England. I don't, even without Nico Collins' death. I mean, just juicy matchups. Jeremy Gibbs. Dallas. I think, again, this is just going to be fantasy heaven these matchups here. The stack was Stephon Diggs, and we saw that without Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs definitely stepped up into that number one role. Tank Dell, stock goes up. I mean, Forrest, Lord. Again, the cruel humor of the fantasy gods. Devonta Smith in the trade with myself off of the bye. Cleveland, you love the matchup. It's just how far in the concussion protocol is he? Be monitoring those practices. George Kittle tonight in Thursday Night Football. We'll get Seattle, and I think it's primed for a nice game with Purdy tonight. Wan'Dale Robinson in Cincinnati, and I like this. I'm starting my Giants against this secondary who has been very porous in Cincinnati. Chicago's defense and Santos, the kicker. It's 123. Oh, this game could be close. Jalen Hurts. It's, your starting quarterback here, Cleveland, and you don't like it. This is one of those dangerous things. You'd never like to be throwing to your opponent's players, especially, obviously, a wide receiver here in this reference. Will Joe Mixon play? This is so huge for you this week, Aaron. Took the injury there in week 2. We've been told day to day, and still looks like he's going to miss yet another week. And so the matchup is nice. I believe that you may be able to get Cam Akers if you were to make a trade. It's unfortunate that the person you're playing him, that has him, you're playing, and that kind of sucks. But Tony Pollard is back and gets Indianapolis, which you love. You just really need Joe Mixon to come back. And then more than anything, Calvin Ridley, who has been horrible, one of 2024's fantasy busts at this point in time, gets Indianapolis. You love the matchup. It's one of those tests. Like, if you can't get it done against Indianapolis, I think you are making an argument to bench Calvin Ridley. And I get, much like Josh and Amari Cooper, it's like, I get it. You may not have a better choice, but, find somebody with a pulse, make a trade. I mean, you've got to get away from this hole in your team that's keeping you down. Jalen Reed has been quite the opposite of a hole. He's been the light in the darkness, and you need that to be the case against Arizona. Mike Gesicki, Giants, great matchup. He is questionable as well as your flex with Jacoby Myers, and then your projection's going to go up. So this gap of 16 that we see right now is actually going to narrow probably almost in half. So imagine this is a game that's going to be within 10 points on the projection once you replace your defense. So maybe within 10-ish points. So we know that you can put up the points. We just know that you're going against one of the toughest teams in the 2024 season, and I just don't think that the running back core and the wide receiver core can handle the defending champs lineup. And Austin, I feel, is a deep playoff play at this point in time. So give me Austin Allen, defending champ, to continue the undefeated run here in week 6. Before I introduce our game 5 here, I just want to say that it should almost be game of the week, and there's only 2 reasons that it is not game of the week. Number 1, it's not Bourbon Bowl. Okay, that had a lot to do with it, and the teams in Bourbon Bowl are actually good. Number 2, it consists of 2 of the worst owners statistically in the 2024 season, and I told you, I guaranteed at the beginning of this episode that somebody, one of these teams at the bottom, will no longer be winless. So if I haven't given it away already, allow me to introduce Game 5, Week 6, Brock Hudgens, Forrest Dozier, 0-5, 0-5. Like I said, somebody will have a win. You will get the much needed. Keep some semblance of hope alive. At the end of this game, it is within 1 point. Even the matchup is good. Okay, Brauc, no Sam Darnold, and the litany of Dolphins. You can't play him. Not that I think you would. I mean, I don't even know if we're starting. I mean, I get it. Tyreek Hill has some value in how deep of a league we are. Forrest, no Aaron Jones. He's banged up but on a bye. No Travis Kelce, no Xavier Worthy, no Whittington. And yet, in this deaf fighting the blind, this bottom tier gutter match, you are neither of you even projected over 100 points. The Grand Wizard is still projected to walk away with the W. So let's start with Mr. Brock Hudgens, who gets Justin Herbert, who has Denver and he's banged up. It's a horrible play at quarterback. It's not what you want at all. I mean, Tua going out, everything. It's been such a struggle, and this is where we have to be here in week 6. Rico Dowdle, who I think is still just not consistent enough to trust. The volume's just not there. The profile's not there. We need to see it. Zamir White, who was dropped by Jack Little Raven. He is not playable. He literally, if I remember correctly, he had 1 touch the last time he played. I mean, Lord have mercy. Mike Evans, Juwan Jennings. Now, this is much better. Mike Evans has scored 5 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. Juwan Jennings, Seattle, who I think has been a more comfortable play than Brandon Ayuk. Of course, I mean, that could be the thing we're seeing here, is that maybe it's going to be the Ayuk show. Maybe it's going to be the Debo show. Maybe it's going to be the Juwan Jennings show. Maybe it'll be the George Kittle show. So it's just a lot of people to feed here in San Francisco, which can be the frustrating thing about owning a San Francisco receiving option. Trey McBride in the game against Green Bay. That'll be a great play. Keenan Allen against Jacksonville. That's the only good thing there. But, I mean, woof. You're flexing Keenan Allen, who looks like what Joe would do if he played wide receiver in the NFL. I imagine that me and Keenan Allen would be very comparable in that. I mean, I'm willing to play. Just I'm ready, coach. Put me in. Okay? Philadelphia defense and Bates, the kicker, it's 95. Is the lowest projection in the entire league for week 6. It is disgusting. That is horrible. This could be a rematch of the Forever Unclean at the end of the year. Your opponent is the Grand Wizard, who is got somewhat better plays. We'll start at least the quarterback play. You like this. Danny Dimes gets Cincinnati. Okay, great play. Tajay Spears in Indianapolis, actually not horrible. Tank Bigsby against Chicago, not great. I actually see Tyler Algier. I may recommend that. But then, I mean, if I will say this, you're starting Bigsby if Etienne doesn't play, but you certainly don't like the matchup and then the struggles there. Debo in Seattle, again, we just talked about it. Could this game come down to Juwan Jennings or Debo Samuel having the better game? Certainly it would be Debo. And then this is Brock. This is where there's the fantasy gods really stick it in your craw, but then somehow make Forrest a relevant team. He scored over 100 points last week alone. Tank Dell, who will be filling in and getting touches now that Nico is on IR. And so you have to think that his days are going to get better. Cade Otton against against New Orleans. Yeah, he's definitely got a hot hand right now with the play in Baker. And I love the flex with Ray McLeod. Much better than Keenan Allen. I can't even say it without laughing. It's so bad. You got to find someone else. Brock, brother, you've got things. Make a trade. And not force that you shouldn't make a trade. You guys are 0-5. It's not working. You've got to figure out something. Brock, you cannot lose to Forrest. Forrest, you cannot lose to Brock. But the difference is, like, Forrest, your team in the most fucked up way is actually trending up, where Brock, it is not trending up. You are starting running backs that people drafted in mid rounds that have been dropped in a deep league. Like, it's warning signals. You're just you're just trying to upset people's seasons if you lose this week. But using the power of the pen, I'm going to pick, I'm going with Old Faithful. Give me Forrest, Heart of the Cards, Dozier, trending up unless Brauc makes like a crazy trade or something. But I do feel that you've got this one, Forrest, in the bag here in week 6. Game 6 gives us a fantastic mid-table clash as Jordan Payne meets Chandlar Taylor, and in a rare circumstance, Jordan is projected, at least according to ESPN, to lose this game. I will say Jordan playing without Cooper Kupp or Pacheco. They're on bye, but they're injured, so it wouldn't matter. You've just snatched every possible good player on the waiver wire up somehow before other people who are even putting in waiver claims and not having that kind of success. 130 points last week. Chandler, last week I told you should be a 3-2 team. This is a 3-2 versus 3-2. You just got robbed. The co-commissioner was like, I need Bourbon Bowl to be just spectacular, and so he just went off on you. So this is a very, very close match. It could go either way. Let's start breaking it down, as Jordan Payne already is scaring me. I don't know if I'd start Jaden Daniels against Baltimore. I mean, this is a real test, and even though he's been fantastic, I mean, I just feel like Baltimore is ready to eat this rookie alive, and Jordan's like, no, give me the rookie. I'm going to play him. And it sure has been an interesting the rookies really are doing a good job. Devin Singletary banged up. Don't know if he's going to start in this one, but Chuba Hubbard is, and he's been fantastic. Why not? A.J. Brown and Darnell Mooney, yeah, absolutely. And juicy matchups, Cleveland and Carolina. Dalton Kincaid gets the Jets. I'm tapering expectation a little bit because the Jets, more so because he's a tight end. But at the end of the day, remember, he's just got to score more than Mark Andrews, and that's the thing. I get that Josh Allen has to play the Jets, but oh man, I get, man, the projections there too. Baltimore, man, Baltimore. You know what I'm talking about. Christian Kirk, who's been coming alive, but, tapering expectation here for Chicago. They have a very, very, very good defense, number 6 against wide receivers. Tampa Bay, the defense, and Boswell, the kicker. And it's 118, but look here, Chandler. I told you that you were trending up, sir. And look what we've got here as Brock Purdy gets a great matchup against Seattle tonight. You're going to look forward to that. I think he will score into the 20s. Bijan Robinson and DeAndre Swift, running backs 1 and 2, and you should have the better wide receiver core in this game. No problem. DeAndre Swift's going to have another great game. And Bijan, surely, you get it done against Carolina. If he doesn't get it done against Carolina, you and I both, and fantasy managers across Fantasydom, have a huge problem. Zay Flowers, Scary Terry. I tell you what, this Baltimore-Washington game is going to be very important. And what did I say earlier in the match where Jalen Hurts from Austin, or from Aaron Felch's team, is throwing to Austin Allen's team? You don't like that. Well, look who Jaden Daniels is now, and I get he's doing a lot of running, but the Scary Terry's been trending way up, and I almost wish I hadn't traded. I traded away Scary Terry in every league I'm in this year, he was good trade value, and I was a little scared off of him, and I'm thinking maybe I should have been a little more patient. And you're now going to throw to him, and I think maybe Jaden Daniels' running game might be stifled here. This could be big time for Scary Terry. Again, would have had a 20-point day had he not been tackled on the 1-yard line. Pat Freiermuth, injury notice, in the news, so keeping an eye on that. David Montgomery, here's where it really changed. I mean, huge trade with Josh, and using Dallas Goedert, and now that you have the depth at tight end, and I think Zach Ertz will be a nice serviceable play in matches that are unfavorable for Freiermuth, but flexing David Montgomery, Chandler, you easily now have, if Bijan gets shit worked out, I think you have one of the better running back cores in the league now. Pittsburgh, the defense, Tyler Bass, the kicker. This team can do damage. I think this game is going to be close. Give me Chandlar Taylor here in week 6 to get the upset over Jordan Payne. And so with only one game left to go, you know what that means. It's time for Game of the Week.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
Wubba lubba dub dub!
Bam!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
We have a very special game of the week here in week 6, as it is Commissioner versus Co-Commissioner. It is Aaron Grogg versus Joe Johnson. It is Bourbon Bowl, and that is where two lifelong friends, 25 plus years, go into a week where, I just want to say, I would do anything for Aaron Grogg. I love the man. I would take a bullet for him. I would travel across the country for him and his family. I would give the shirt off of my back so that it would provide a tent for his entire family to live upon if they required it to do so. I would feed them from my own pantry. But when it's fantasy time, let me tell you, I'll sell my grandmother down the river if it means beating Aaron Grogg. I will lie. I will cheat. I will deceive. I will do whatever is required to beat Aaron Grogg. And so we will find out who is the better man here once more. It is a year-defining event. We choose which one of us is the better man based off of the athleticism and pure man talent of other individuals. So much on the line. So let's take a moment and break down this Bourbon Bowl 2024. 3-2. 3-2. Love it. Both these teams projected within 1 point of each other. I have my kicker out right now. He'll obviously come back in, and that'll put this game to about 113, 114. And you would think that that would be in the favor of the co-commissioner based off ESPN, but it's going to be a dogfight in the trenches. We'll start with my team, as it is, I'm not going to lie, not easily starting Kyler Murray over Dak. Dak has a great matchup with Detroit, but I can't pass on the stack. And Green Bay in the secondary can be had. I love Kyler Murray here in this matchup. I need Jonathan Taylor. Please, Jonathan Taylor, come back. I cannot go into this game without you. I need you. And the reports, it's like he hasn't been practicing, but they're like, we're choosing not to play him. And you just wonder if he's going to miss one more week. And then with Jordan Payne holding out on me, on Mr. Waiver Island, I'm going to hoard everybody's running backs. Lord, I don't even know how he has the room to do it, but somehow he finds a way. I'm digressing. I'm going back. Triggered. James Conner needs to get into the end zone in this game. Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas, and this is going to be a test. Can Brian, does Brian Thomas enter top 15 wide receiver status, maybe even league winning status? Chicago's secondary is so good, and if Brian Thomas has a huge game this week, then we know he's matchup proof. Tyler Conklin, who is banged up, I may end up switching out my tight end here. We'll see. Chris Olave with the change in quarterback should be interesting, but I like the ego coming out and the mentality when I'm hearing in New Orleans. So I'm sitting on Chris Olave, seeing what happens, seeing what Spencer Rattler can do. Houston, the defense, like I said, I will put in a kicker here before Sunday, so that'll bring up that projection a little bit. Joe Burrow, great matchup. And we just talked about it. It's a great matchup for everybody. This is going to be, I think, that both of us are going to score high here. Joe Burrow gets the Giants, like I said, Jerome Ford and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara a little banged up here. Keep in mind that. But Tampa Bay and Philadelphia, and I'm not happy starting any of my Cleveland players. I'm going to do what I did for Josh and say, hey, as your commissioner, don't start him. As Joe Johnson, his final boss, do it, pussy. Do it. Leave him there. Start him. See what happens. Put your money where your mouth is. Garrett Wilson and Chris Godwin, running backs, or wide receivers 1 and 2, and I sure do not like seeing Garrett Wilson score 29 points. We guess it was new, and we knew it was going to be inevitable. I just really, really hope that Buffalo can play defense, and like I said, they're banged up, and they probably won't be able to, but it's their front seven that really is more of a problem right now, but Buffalo as a whole is struggling, so hey, this could be really not fun. Maybe it'll just be, nice and icy and cold and rainy or something, and that'll help me out. But yeah, Godwin, New Orleans is going to be a shootout. Tucker Kraft cannot have 2 touchdowns and 88 yards and all that nonsense off of 4 receptions. I need him to come back down to earth against Arizona. Sam Laporta, this is the only thing that makes me happy. You are into a position because, and thank God you don't get Kareem Hunt because he looked absolutely phenomenal last week. It's like he should have never left Cleveland or Kansas City. But 2 tight ends, and I hope this comes to bite you in the ass, and much like Jerome Ford, do it. Do it. If you're a man, you put him in there, you start him, you do it. And maybe, you probably, looking at your team, you don't really have another option. Nico Collins going out, huge. This is huge. No Nico Collins for you, and watch me have to play this game without Jonathan Taylor. Oh, man, how does the fantasy gods are cruel. And, this is going to be interesting. Cleveland defense, Young Hoku, the kicker, and Aaron, you know what? Normally, I'd just, go off, I'd make a video and whatever. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to remind you that you're playing Final Boss. I'm going to remind you that the winds have shifted back in my favor. I'm going to remind you that last year it wasn't even close. I blew you out of the water. I'm going to remind you that I've got 3 Bourbon Bowls and a Super Bowl to make up for. And I'm going to remind you to get the fuck off my lawn. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's week 6. That's what's going down. Let's look at those power rankings. And look who tops the power rankings here in week 6. It's Derek Ash, so I do not envy you, Evan, as you're sitting at number 11. It's going to be a fight, my friend. DEFCON 4, Silence of the Lambs, Jerry's Kids, and that doesn't bode well for me. I think even with my kicker, I might jump up a spot or 2, so I'm sitting right there in the middle. And Aaron, this week is a top 4 projected power rank team. Wolf, Etienne D's Nuts, Weatherford Moonshiners, Mr. McGiblets top out the top 7 of this week here. K9 Unit, Final Boss, Limp Penix, Forever Unclean hit that mid to lower tier here for week 6. And then our very last 3, Team Felch, the Grand Wizard, and Hudgens Hierarchy. When I tell you that this could be a rematch a rematch that we'll see at the end of the year for Forever Unclean, when I tell you this is a gutter trash match, that it is going to be nitty and gritty, I'm telling you, I know as bad as it seems, I think that Forrest and Brauc are going to have a more fun game to watch. But, it's not Bourbon Bowl, baby. It's just trash on trash. Guys, thanks for stopping in with me. Join me next week when we find out who won Bourbon Bowl, who got a win. Can Austin and Brennan remain undefeated? We'll talk about it all next Wednesday. And like I said, if you're Aaron, get the fuck on my lawn. Everybody else, good luck and peace out.